Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
And now Chapter 12, Association with the Supreme Lord through Hearing. Texts 25 through 26. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti ritkarna rasayana kata tajjoshanad ashvapavarga vartmani shradaratir bhaktir anukramishyati bhaktya puman jata viraga aindrayan drishta shrutan mad rachan an uchintaya Chitasya yato grahane yoga yukto yatishyate riju bir yoga margahi. Translation. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. Thus, consciously engaged in devotional service in the association of devotees, a person gains distaste for sense gratification, both in this world and in the next, by constantly thinking about the activities of the Lord. This process of Krishna consciousness is the easiest process of mystic power. When one is actually situated on that path of devotional service, he is able to control the mind. Purport. The process of advancing in Krishna consciousness and devotional service is described here. The first point is that one must seek the association of persons who are Krishna conscious and who engage in devotional service. Without such association, one cannot advance. Simply by theoretical knowledge or study, one cannot make any appreciable advancement. One must give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of devotees, because without such association, one cannot understand the activities of the Lord. Generally, people are convinced of the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth. Because they do not associate with devotees, they cannot understand that the Absolute Truth can be a person and have personal activities. This is a very difficult subject matter, and unless one has personal understanding of the Absolute Truth, there is no meaning to devotion. Service or devotion cannot be offered to anything impersonal. Service must be offered to a person. Non-devotees cannot appreciate Krishna consciousness by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literature wherein the activities of the Lord are described. They think that these activities are fictional because spiritual life is not explained to them in the proper mood. To understand the personal activities of the Lord, one has to seek the association of devotees, and by such association, when one contemplates and tries to understand the transcendental activities of the Lord, the path to liberation is open, and he is freed. One who has firm faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes fixed, and his attraction for association with the Lord and the devotees increases. Association with the devotees means association with the Lord. The devotee who makes this association develops the consciousness for rendering service to the Lord, and then, being situated in the transcendental position of devotional service, he gradually becomes perfect. In all scriptures, people are encouraged to act in a pious way so that they can enjoy sense gratification not only in this life but also in the next. For example, one is promised promotion to the heavenly kingdom of higher planets by pious, fruitive activities. But a devotee in the association of devotees prefers to contemplate the activities of the Lord, how He has created this universe, how He is maintaining it, how the creation dissolves, and how in the spiritual kingdom the Lord's pastimes are enacted. There are full literatures describing these activities, especially Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Samhita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. The sincere devotee who associates with devotees gets the opportunity to hear and contemplate these subjects, and the result is that he feels distaste for so-called happiness in this or that world, in heaven or on other planets. The devotees are simply interested in being transferred to the personal association of the Lord. They are no longer attracted to temporary so-called happiness. That is the position of one who is Yoga Yukta. One who is fixed in mystic power is not disturbed by the allurement of this world or that world. He is interested in spiritual understanding. This is very easily attained by the easiest process, Bhakti Yoga. Raju Bir Yoga Margai. A very suitable word used here is Raju Bhi, or very easy. There are different processes of Yoga Marga, attaining yoga perfection. But this process, devotional service to the Lord, is the easiest. Not only is it the easiest process, but the result is sublime. Everyone, therefore, should try this process of Krishna consciousness and reach the highest perfection. Sat means existence, and asat means that which does not exist, that which is temporary. The material world is asat. Therefore, the Vedas enjoin asato ma sadgama. Do not remain within this material world. Those who are interested in materialistic life are also called asat. When asked how a Vaishnava behaves, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, Asat Sangha Tiyaga E Vaishnava Achara, which means, quote, a devotee first of all avoids the company of asat, those who are materially interested, unquote. From the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, verse 87. We have established this Krishna consciousness movement in order to avoid asat sangha, association with those who are interested in material things. Because we are associating with Krishna, we do not wish to talk about anything but Krishna. Everyone is interested in this business or that, and we are exclusively interested in our Krishna consciousness business. Those who are asat are very much attached to sense gratification, and the culmination of sense gratification is sex. In addition, Sri Sanatan Goswami, in his Hari Bhakti Vilas, recommends that one should not hear Bhagavad Gita, the Puranas, the Srimad Bhagavatam, or any Hari Katha from anyone who is not a Vaishnava in his actions. That means that we should not hear these Vedic literatures from the Mayavadis, who actually do not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can one not accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord and yet dare to speak on Bhagavad Gita? We will never derive any benefit from listening to the commentaries of such people. Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam should be heard from the devotees. We can hear Bhagavad Gita from Mayavadis for hundreds of years and yet never understand Krishna. It is therefore forbidden for Vaishnavas to hear talks given by Mayavadis. Hari Katha talks about Sri Hari or Krishna are Amrita, nectar. If one hears them from the right source, he attains Amrita. Somratatvaya kalpate. Mrita means birth and death, and Amrita means the cessation of birth and death. Spiritual life means putting an end to birth, old age, disease, and death. Getting Amrita, nectar, means getting relief from birth and death, and that is the real aim of spiritual life. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 16, that spiritual life begins when one is pious. Chatur vida bhajante mam, jana sukritino jana, arto jigyasur artarti, gyani cha bharatar shabha. Which means, quote, O best among the Bharatas, Arjun, 4 kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Unquote. If we actually want to become pious and develop our devotional life, we have to associate unflinchingly with the sadhu. Then we can acquire some taste for Krishna. When we discuss Krishna with a sadhu, the discussion becomes very pleasing, and we develop some taste, which is called rasa or mellow. Rasa is the enjoyment we derive from drinking something very nice when we are thirsty. Krishna has instructed us to think of him when drinking water. This is not very difficult. Krishna also tells us to think of him when we see sunlight in the morning. Why do we say, "Can you show me God?" God is showing us himself. Why do we close our eyes to try to see him? He says, "I am this and I am that." It is not that suddenly we can expect to see God, but we can become qualified to see God through the association of a sadhu. Presently, many people are interested in receiving degrees from big universities, but education without God consciousness is simply an expansion of Maya's influence. Because knowledge is taken away by illusion, the universities are simply presenting impediments on the path of God consciousness. The living entity is already illusioned when he comes into the material world, and so-called advanced education simply increases his illusion. Trying to become happy in this temporary material life, the living entity has forgotten that he is the eternal servant of Krishna. Even if one becomes happy in this temporary life, his happiness is an illusion, because no one is allowed to stay and enjoy his happiness. These points have to be understood in the association of devotees. A devotee knows everything because he has seen the supreme absolute truth, Krishna. What is the goal of Vedanta Darshana? Veda means knowledge, and Anta means ultimate. What is that ultimate knowledge? In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 15, Sri Krishna says, Vedaischa sarver aham eva vedyo, Vedanta krid veda vid eva chaham, which means, quote, by all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Unquote. If we listen to Krishna and understand what and who he is, we can actually understand Vedanta. If we do not understand Krishna but advertise ourselves as Vedantists, we are just being illusioned. Without understanding Krishna, one is actually a mudha, a fool. People do not know it, but actually anyone in the material world is more or less a mudha. We are all mudhas, for unless we are mudhas, we do not come into the material world. From Brahma down to the smallest ant, we are all mudhas of different degrees. In order to become really learned, we have to associate with devotees. Then we can actually relish Krishna Katha. When discussed among devotees, Krishna Katha is pleasing to the heart and ear. This requires a little training, and this training is given by the devotees. We should follow the devotees in their practical daily life, in their routine work and behavior. Cultivation means practice, and the great acharyas have given a routine we can cultivate. For instance, the Nectar of Devotion by Srila Rupa Goswami deals with the cultivation of devotional service, and this book, which we have translated, has been very well received in European and American universities. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Nectar of Devotion, is the actual science of bhakti. Bhakti is not sentiment. It is a great science, and we have to learn it scientifically. It is not that we have to wait for another life to cultivate devotional service. We can read the Nectar of Devotion, live with devotees, rise early in the morning to attend Mangal Arti, study Vedic literature, take prasad, and preach Krishna consciousness. Maya is very strong, and to begin devotional service is to declare war against Maya. Some of the devotees in this Krishna consciousness movement may fall down, but whatever is done sincerely is to their permanent credit. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. If one renders a little devotional service, he does not fall down into the lower species, but again attains a human form. There are 8,400,000 species, but the fallen devotee is guaranteed a human life. If one becomes Krishna conscious, he is assured of a good birth in the next life. However, if one completes his Krishna consciousness in this life, he will not take birth again, but will go to Krishna. This is what is actually wanted. Why take the chance of being born into a rich family or a Brahmin family? Actually, such a birth is quite risky because there is really no guarantee. Generally, those who are rich don't care at all for Krishna consciousness. And those who are born in Brahmin families generally become puffed up thinking, I am a Brahmin. I am born in a very high family. Thinking this brings about their fall down. It is said that pride precedes a fall. A Vaishnava is by nature very humble. These are the chances one takes when one becomes a human being. Krishna is personally advising us to take up the opportunities offered by the Krishna consciousness movement. We should take them and not run the risk of committing spiritual suicide. This is the process for understanding the Absolute Truth, the Supreme Person, the Supreme Being. In the Absolute, there are no contradictions. Krishna's name, form, activities, paraphernalia, and attributes are identical with Krishna. This is the meaning of Absolute. There is no difference between Krishna's form and Krishna. Krishna's hands and Krishna's legs are non-different. In the material world, there is a difference between our left hand and our right hand, between the nose and the ear. But these dualities do not exist in Krishna. This is the meaning of absolute. As stated in Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 32, Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti Pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti Ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrahasya Govindamadi purusham tam aham bhajami, which means, quote, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, and substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses, in himself, the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. Unquote. The different parts of our bodies serve different purposes, but any limb of Krishna's body can serve any purpose. Krishna can eat through his eyes, or Krishna can go somewhere simply by thinking. The Absolute is Advaita. There is no duality in the Absolute. Everything is one. Our material disease lies in wanting to satisfy our senses. We have stated before that advancement of civilization means advancement of sense gratification, but bhakti means just the opposite. As long as we are interested in sense gratification, there is no question of bhakti. We have to reduce our tendency for sense gratification and increase our devotional activities. We have also stated that material bondage means accepting one body and creating another. Krishna, through nature, will give us full facility to enjoy our senses. Presently, in the Western countries, it has become fashionable to run around naked. Therefore, nature will give these people an opportunity to stand naked like trees for many years. Why are we receiving different bodies? Because we have different tendencies for sense gratification. We actually have to come to detest sense gratification before our spiritual life begins. This is made possible through bhakti. Although Krishna is beyond our vision, he has agreed to be seen by us through the Archa Vigraha, the deity. We should not think that the deity is made of stone. Even if it is stone, we should think that Krishna has made himself visible before us like a stone, because we cannot see beyond stone. That is Krishna's mercy. Because our eyes and other senses are imperfect, we cannot see Krishna present everywhere in his original spiritual form. Because we are imperfect, we see the difference between things spiritual and material. But Krishna, being absolute, knows no such distinctions. He can become spiritual or material however he likes, and it does not make any difference to him. Being almighty and omnipotent, Krishna can change matter into spirit, and spirit into matter. Therefore, we should not think, as the atheists do, that we are worshipping idols. Even if it is an idol, it is still Krishna. That is the absolute nature of Krishna. Even if we think that the deity is a stone, or a piece of metal, or some wood, he is still Krishna. The understanding of this requires bhakti on our part. If we are a little thoughtful and philosophical, and if we are at all inclined toward bhakti, we can understand that Krishna is present in stone. Actually, nothing is different from Krishna because everything is Krishna's energy. The Mayavadi philosophers say that since everything is God, the personality of Krishna is finished. But actually, Krishna is Krishna, and at the same time, he is everything. We can understand this by bhakti, but not by any other process. When a bhakta sees a tree, he sees Krishna. As explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 8, verse 274, Stavara Jangama Deke, Na Deke Tara Murti, Sarvatra Haya Nija Ishta Deva Spurti. The advanced devotee does not see living entities as moving and not moving. He sees Krishna. This is also stated in the Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 38. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Valochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Velokayanti. Because his eyes are always smeared with the ointment of devotion, the devotee always sees Krishna and nothing else. He sees Krishna and Krishna's energy everywhere. For instance, if you love your child, when you see your child's shoe, you immediately see your child. Or if you see your child's toy, you immediately see your child and hear his voice. Similarly, if we have actually developed love of Krishna, nothing exists but Krishna. When our love for Krishna is actually developed, whatever we see, we will see Krishna. Unless one is advanced in Krishna Prema, love of Krishna, he cannot see or understand. By the blunt material senses, we cannot even understand the name of Krishna. People are always asking, why are these people chanting Hare Krishna? They cannot understand, although Krishna realization begins with the name. The name of Krishna and Krishna are non-different, but we cannot realize this intellectually. We have to practice chanting Hare Krishna to realize it. When we actually advance in devotional service and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra offenselessly, we will realize that Krishna and his name are non-different. Thus Krishna Bhakti begins with the tongue, for we can utilize the tongue to chant and to taste Krishna Prasad. In this way we can become a Krishna Bhakta. When we see the deity of Krishna in the temple, we should think that the deity is Krishna. In this way, Krishna has agreed to be seen by us and even dressed by us. However, if we think of Krishna's Virat Rupa, his universal form, what can we do? How can we dress the Virat Rupa? His many heads cover the sky, and we cannot even conceive of him. Krishna can become bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest. Therefore this verse states, Bhaktya Puman Jata Viraga Indriyat. The more we serve Krishna, give him things to eat and dress him nicely, the less we become interested in our own bodies. In the material world, everyone is very busy dressing himself very nicely in order to be sexually attractive. But if we try to dress Krishna nicely, we will forget our own material dress. If we feed Krishna nice food, we will forget to satisfy our own tongue by going to this or that restaurant. Krishna was teaching Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna was seeing him face to face. But seeing Krishna and reading Bhagavad Gita are the same. Some people say that Arjuna was fortunate to have seen Krishna face to face and take instructions from him. But Krishna can be seen immediately, provided one has the eyes to see. There is the example in Chaitanya Charitamrita of a Brahmin in South India who was reading Bhagavad Gita, although he was illiterate. The people in the neighborhood knew that he was illiterate, and they made jokes, asking him, "Well, how is it you are reading Bhagavad Gita?" One day Chaitanya Mahaprabhu happened to be in a temple nearby, and he could understand that this man was a devotee. He therefore approached him and asked, "My dear Brahmin, what are you reading?" The Brahmin replied, I am reading Bhagavad Gita, or rather, I am trying to read Bhagavad Gita. I happen to be illiterate, but my Guru Maharaj has said that I must read the 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita daily. I am simply trying to carry out his order, and therefore I am opening and closing the pages. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, I see that you are crying sometimes. Why is this? The Brahmin replied, Yes, I am crying because when I take up this book, I see a picture of Krishna driving Arjun's chariot. Sri Krishna is so kind that he has accepted the position of a servant to his devotee. Therefore, when I see this picture, I weep. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then immediately embraced the Brahmin and said, You have actually read Bhagavad Gita. It is not that a wealth of education is required. One does not even have to understand the language. The only ingredient needed is bhakti, love. If one becomes a pure bhakta, he will forget all material sense enjoyment. Being a bhakta doesn't simply mean wearing tilak and robes. One is not a bhakta if he has a taste for material sense enjoyment. A true bhakta wants to satisfy not his senses, but the senses of Krishna. That is the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, Vrindavan, everyone, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, Srimati Radharani, the gopis, the cowherd boys, Sri Dama, Sudama, the land, the water, the trees, the birds, all are trying to satisfy Krishna. That is the real meaning of Vrindavan. When Krishna left Vrindavan for Mathura, everyone in Vrindavan fell dead out of separation from him. Similarly, we can always live in Vrindavan, in Vaikuntha, if we are mad after Krishna. This is the teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he illustrated this by his very life. When he was in Jagannath Puri, he was always mad after Krishna day and night. The last 12 years of his life were passed in madness. Sometimes he threw himself into the ocean, and he wandered about like a madman. Of course, this is not possible for ordinary living entities. However, if we become bhaktas, we will find intelligence behind everything in the creation. If we take a flower and see its constitution, how it is made and how its colors are displayed, and how it comes into existence, we can see Krishna. We can see how Krishna has created such a beautiful thing so intelligently. We should not consider like rascals that such a thing has come into being automatically. Fools cannot see, but those who are intelligent can see that the hand of the Supreme Lord is in everything within the creation. Ishabasyam idam sarvam. Actually, nothing comes about automatically. Everything comes about through the intelligence of Krishna, through his fine and accurate powers. If we paint a picture of a flower, we have to arrange many facets, and still the picture will not be absolutely perfect. Yet the flower created by Krishna has come out perfectly. What rascal can say that there is no brain behind it? Krishna specifically says that we should not think that Prakriti, nature, is working automatically. He says, nature is working under my direction. One simply has to develop the eyes to see how these things are going on. This is possible if we engage the senses in the service of Krishna. We first of all must engage the tongue in chanting Hare Krishna and in eating Bhagavad Prasad. Nothing else is required. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is distributing prasad and engaging people in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Text 27. Asevayayam prakriter gunanam jnanena vairagya vijrimbitena yogena mayarpitaya cha bhaktya mam pratyagatmanam ihavarande. Translation. Thus, by not engaging in the service of the modes of material nature, but by developing Krishna consciousness, knowledge in renunciation, and by practicing yoga, in which the mind is always fixed in devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one achieves my association in this very life, for I am the Supreme Personality, the Absolute Truth. Purport. When one engages in the 9 different processes of Bhakti Yoga enunciated in authoritative scriptures such as hearing, Shravanam, chanting, Kirtanam, remembering, worshipping, praying, and offering personal service, either in one of them, or 2 or 3, or all of them, he naturally has no opportunity to engage in the service of the 3 modes of material nature. Unless one has good engagements in spiritual service, it is not possible to become detached from material service. Those who are not devotees, therefore, are interested in so-called humanitarian or philanthropic work, such as opening a hospital or charitable institution. These are undoubtedly good works in the sense that they are pious activities, and the performer may get some opportunities for sense gratification either in this life or in the next. Devotional service, however, is beyond the boundary of sense gratification. It is a completely spiritual activity. When one engages in the spiritual activities of devotional service, he does not engage in sense gratificatory activities. Krishna-conscious activities are performed not blindly, but with the perfect understanding of knowledge and renunciation. This kind of yoga practice, in which the mind is always fixed upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotion, results in liberation in this very life. The person who performs such acts gets in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya, therefore, approved the process of hearing from realized devotees about the pastimes of the Lord. It does not matter to what mundane category the audience belongs. If one meekly and submissively hears about the activities of the Lord from a realized soul, he will be able to conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is unconquerable by any other process. Hearing and associating with devotees are the most important functions for self-realization. In Goloka Vrindavan, the living entities are serving Krishna as friends, cowherd boys, gopis, lovers, fathers, mothers, and so on. Even the trees, water, flowers, land, calves, and cows serve Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. This is also our business, but somehow or other we do not like to serve Krishna. Therefore, we have been put into the service of Maya in the 3 modes of material nature. When a criminal does not like to obey the laws of the state, he is placed into prison and forced to abide by the laws. Our constitutional position is to render service to Krishna as his part and parcel, and as soon as we refuse to render him service, Maya is immediately there to capture us and say, "Serve me." It is not our nature to become master. Even if we become master, we will not be happy, because that is artificial. For instance, if the hand thinks, "Oh, now I have some nice sweets. Now I can eat," the hand will ultimately be frustrated. It is the duty and nature of the hand to place the food in the mouth. In this way the hand is nourished. Otherwise everything is spoiled. Similarly, we are part and parcel of Krishna, and our business is to satisfy Krishna. From the Vedas we understand that God, who is one, has become many. We are the many parts and parcels of Krishna. Svamshas are his personal expansions, and we are his differential expansions, Vibhinamshas. In any case, all expansions are meant to serve Krishna. This is explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 5, verse 142. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Ada Sabha Britya, which means, quote, Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller, and all others are his servants, unquote. It is our natural propensity to enjoy ourselves with Krishna. As stated before, Krishna is Anandamaya, and being part and parcel of Krishna, we are also Anandamaya. Now we are seeking Ananda or bliss in different atmospheres. Because we have a little independence, we have decided to go to the prison house of material nature and try to serve our senses instead of Krishna. Now we have to learn how to forget to serve this material nature, and that process is Bhakti Marga, the path of devotional service. When we come to the understanding that we are actually no one's servant but Krishna's, we attain self-realization. We must come to this understanding not by sentiment, but by real knowledge. After many births and deaths, when one realizes that Vasudeva Sarvam Iti, Vasudev is all, he surrenders unto Krishna. This is real knowledge. Jnana and Vairagya, knowledge and detachment from material things. Once one engages fully in Krishna's service, he comes to the Brahma Bhuta platform. Presently, we are on the Maya Bhuta platform, identifying ourselves with Maya and working according to the modes of material nature. However, when one comes to the realization that he is Spirit, Aham Brahmasmi, he will immediately become happy. Under the modes of material nature, we are being carried away by the waves of material nature, and we have no control over where we are going. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has stated, Mayada Vashe, Yacha Bese, Kacha Habudubu Bai. We are like straws on the waves of the ocean, and we are fully under the control of the waves. Atheists shudder when they think that there is a next life, because their lives are sinful and they fear punishment in the next. There is a Bengali proverb about a person who thought, I have committed so many sinful acts that Yamaraj will come and punish me. How can I avoid him? Thinking about this sometime, he decided, let me smear my body with stool. Then Yamaraj will not touch me. However, this is simply foolishness. We are under the control of Maya, material nature, and it is not possible to avoid it. We have become infected by the disease of material nature, and no artificial means will save us. There is no way out other than surrender to Krishna. Krishna says that he will save us even though we are very sinful. If we turn our attention to Krishna's service, to Bhakti Yoga, we can force ourselves to give up all anarthas, unwanted things. We should get up early in the morning and engage ourselves in the service of Krishna. Then gradually we will forget the service of Maya. Bhakti Yoga is so strong that if we engage in it, Maya's service will automatically be negated. This is called Vairagya. Krishna is the original Purusha, the original spirit, the original person. Everything has come from Krishna, and therefore he is Purana, the oldest. No one is older than Krishna, but he is always young. That is Bhagavan. He is Adi, the original source, the cause of all causes. Yet we never see Krishna as an old man. He is always fresh and youthful. Although Krishna was a great-grandfather at the Battle of Kurukshetra, he did not appear any older than a young man of 20. Krishna is always a young boy, and those living entities in the spiritual universe also have spiritual bodies the same as Krishna's. In the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we read that when the Vaikuntha Dutas came to take Ajamil, they were four-handed and very beautiful. In the spiritual world, there are four-handed living entities, and they are all Nitya Mukta, eternally liberated. Unfortunately, we are now prisoners in this material world, and we presently have material bodies. These bodies are changing. Sometimes they are young, and sometimes old. However, if we become Krishna conscious, we will not get another material body after leaving this body. We will go home, back to Godhead, and attain our original spiritual body, which is the same kind of beautiful body that Krishna, Narayan, has. We should take this opportunity to become devotees of Krishna by following the processes of Bhakti Yoga, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam. We can take one or all of the 9 processes of devotional service and make our lives successful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has prescribed the most important process, Shravanam. We need only hear, and that will make our lives successful.